Yo guys, it's Chris, and welcome to another episode of Sample Market Producer Tips and Tricks. Today we're gonna have a look on how to create a lead line from scratch. I'm talking about that kind of lead line that's been very popular in the past few years. That kind of resonant, trancy lead line that you can find in a lot of productions nowadays. And to create this kind of sound, we're gonna use the built-in instrument of Ableton, that is the Wavetable, which is a very powerful instrument. And here I've loaded a basic instance of the instrument, very basic. So let's first insert some notes, a very basic pattern. Maybe let's work with semitones. I'm gonna add an E and a half. And yeah, nothing new. To create this kind of sound, the 4-month section of the wavetable is very interesting because there's a lot of sound sources that fits the sound so much from scratch. You can hear it. But today I wanted to create something even more personalized and unique. By doing this, I wanted to look for any kind of vocal in the sample libraries that I've worked on for the various label of Sample Market, which are these ones. Put a lot of time and work into this, and I've crafted sound very meticulously, so I would really appreciate if you would check them all out. And let's write vocal and let's see what comes out. Interesting. This is from the Hyper Minimum one shot. It's a very, very long stem. But if I take this first part and then upload it into the wavetable, we have this. Let's try to select even a smaller portion, because that's the power of wavetable. You can upload any kind of wave to your liking into the instrument as sound source. Maybe let's use different parts and consolidate them together. This is what it would sound like. Okay, sounds okay to me. We can also actually normalize a bit more the audio. Not this, but maybe this. Okay. Let's upload this into the wavetable. This is gonna get interesting. I'm excited about this. So let's see. Let's see how it's sounding so far. Let's mute all these channels and focus on the creation of the synth. Very interesting. I'm gonna lower the octave a bit more because I prefer to work with very low octaves when it's about wavetable. Interesting. So let's first add a second oscillator. For this one, I'm gonna dive into the 4-month section. So you can hear how both oscillators are sounding at the moment. So this was the VCO, so the starting point. What I would do is detune a bit the second oscillator to give a bit more that analog feeling, if you want to call it so. And I would focus on the VCF, which is the filter. So let's start first modulating the first filter. I have here a sine wave by default that I'm gonna move to a longer rate without the retrigger, and I'm gonna have another one that is on sample and hold mode. 1/8 sounds fine to me, not really retrigger. And I'm gonna use the metrics to apply modulations to the VCO or the VCF, or to the filter or to the oscillators, or even to the modulation themselves. Modulating the modulation is always fun, actually. So filter frequencies, LFO2, I'm gonna apply a bit of modulation from here. I'm gonna apply a very subtle one, but also want to apply one that scrolls through to the sound source. So let's actually take a LFO from the modulator folder from Ableton. I'm gonna take a couple, and yeah, why this is not working? So I'm gonna apply this to the first sound source. I'm gonna try to select a very specific part of the wave. Add a bit of distortion. And I'm gonna use also the second oscillator to modulate the filter frequency. Let's see. Another thing that I want to apply on the filter is surely some envelopes. Want to give a bit more plucky attack. I'm gonna use the second envelope. I'm gonna exaggerate a bit of modulation so you see what it's actually doing. And also I'm gonna use one with a very slow attack. Not much of a fan when it goes really down, so I'm gonna reduce the amount. Okay, sounds okay so far. Let's try to modulate also the second oscillator. I'm gonna use the second LFO also to scroll through the sound wave. Okay, now let's use the second one, the second filter in parallel, which is gonna make a bit of the difference for me because now we have created a kind of the timbre on the low part of the synth, and now we're gonna try to work with the highest part. And having the filters in parallel can really create a very interesting modulation that you wouldn't achieve with a single one or using them in serial mode. Let's hear. You see where I'm going with this, right? Maybe the bandpass could also work. It's more subtle but very effective. So let's try to modulate this. Sounds nice so far as a sound source. What I can use also is some unison options. There is the shimmer one, which create a very nice chorusy effect that I usually use when I create pads, but also here could be a nice option if you want some kind of stereo field in the mix. But also having the noise or phase sync or position spread can be really interesting, and try to modulate the amount. Let's hear. Liking this, I'm gonna keep it. So now that we have the source of the sound, what I can do is treat it and try to give a bit more body. Let's add a bit of sub. To it. Then distortion, harmonic distortion. There is the A Bit Warmer preset that is very interesting. Very basic, but does the job really nicely. Then we can add a delay. A reverb to give room. A phaser. And actually I would like to apply a bit of compression too. Let's use the preset of lead solo one. Okay, so possibly we're gonna EQ it later too. But another thing that is very characteristic is the gating in this kind of process. So one very easy way to do it could be having the autopan. I know you're thinking the autopan is to work on the stereo field, but if I select the phase and bring it out to 0, then it works in mono. So it works kind of a gate. See? So if I bring it like to 1/16 and work a bit with the shape. You can create this, you can reverse it and work with different rate. But another interesting way of doing this could be using the gatekeeper from Polyverse, which is a bit more complex gate that I use often, as it's very interesting. There are a couple of presets that I use often, which is this one, I think, with a bit more time. I really like to work with this. So what I'm gonna do is open another LFO, because why not? And I'm gonna tell it to modulate completely the this function, obviously with a slower rate. Really liking where this is going. So good. If you want to open a bit the stereo, but then please put the bass in mono, you can use the spin mode. This opens a lot of stereo. So let's try to add some drums and, you know, make a starter track, why not? We can either use this in a more techy context or maybe more dark too. Let's try the dystopians. drum loops. Let's see what we have. This already sounds good to me. Nice. I'm gonna have them all. But okay, let's try. Gonna use this maybe for as texture. So let's keep this this drum loop, this break drum loop, and try to make a bass line. Usually when I have this kind of straight lead, I will try to also have a very straight and pumping bass line, not try to get too fancy with it. So we are either in A minor or D minor. We can choose both. So let's see what's up in the bass section. A and D. This, I like it pretty much. If you don't have much knowledge of theory or a pitch perfect here, you can use the tuner. This is gonna tell you which notes you're playing. We can use the gate function. Have a little fade out over the click. You can hear, no? There's a click at the end. So the pattern that I have in mind is kind of following the main lead. Okay. We can extend this to 2-bar loop, mute this one, and actually layer it, because this can be left monotonous as it is. And we're gonna work with the answer, so to say, is like kind of call response situation. And this sounds pretty static. What I can do is open a filter, modulate it, because why not? I'm gonna apply actually an expression control. Let's use something different. Why always the same things? Let's use an expression control. I'm gonna map it to the filter frequency value. So basically an expression control is a MIDI device that, as I explained in another episode of Producer Tips and Tricks, can generate random values every time the MIDI is triggered. So every time this node is going to trigger, it's going to generate values, random values. And you can apply these values to any kind of MIDI effects and function you prefer. So I apply it to the frequency. Playing with the minimum maximum value. I can use the with rise and fall, which is kind of the release and attack if you wish. Adding a modulation on the modulation. Maybe another delay, but filtering the highest part. let's use a limiter. Not the limiter police is gonna come. Obviously, you can see there is a big excursion of frequency, and this can affect a bit the space and the mix. You can either work on compression again or just cut it with the limiter. Up to you. I just cut it with a limiter. And maybe I can use the compression to trigger the sidechain effect that I can use from the second channel where the drum loop is. Filter the income of the signal. So it's just gonna take the input of the kick drum since it's a full drum loop. I don't want the snare to sidechain the lead. You see only when the kick is hitting is sidechaining. If I put this off, it's gonna always affect the sound, which is something that I don't want. I feel it's very wide in the stereo field, so what I'm gonna do is use... You can also analyze that by simply putting an EQ, dividing the mid and side section, and you see it's a lot of stereo. So I want to work a bit of this, surely putting the bass in mono and reducing the width of the whole sound. Another instrument that you can use on top of this is this link, which I think is a very, very interesting Max for Live device where I can filter the signal as I wish. I wouldn't say it's complex, it's very intuitive, but it allows me to do things that would take ages to program in with the normal functions. So maybe I can use the sync. Bit of gravity, yeah. Let's use this before the delay because it's taking, it's filtering the delay too, and I don't want, and the effects is, which I don't want. So if I bring this here. This is just if you want to go the extra mile, but even like this is fine. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Before I go, if you have any questions or any doubt, hit the comment section. I hope to see you into the next one. Peace.